let's go see Krull. Let's go see Krull in the movie theater. It'll be amazing.
Yeah.
The director, Peter Yates, he directed Bullet with Steve McQueen. He hated the film so much he took a 3-week vacation to the Caribbeans in the middle of it. So they just had to stop production for 3 weeks because it was so bad.
Oh, that's the tidbit I needed. He hated it so much.
I can't help thinking, somewhere in the universe, there has to be something better than man. Has to be. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ascension to 10.
All right, boys.
All
We're
right.
Back for another one.
Oh, who's that? I hear.
Who?
Oh, who's that guy?
Who's that?
I'm sorry, we're having technical difficulties.
Bastank.
I don't have any internet.
I have run out of excuses.
He's back.
He's
back.
back. It's good to see you. Hey,
Good to
Bryan.
see you. Good to see your faces.
The other two are, I'm Spenny. He's Jad. You heard Bry. He's actually here for once. So
I am.
hopefully it doesn't cut out.
Yeah,
We'll see
barring
if he
any
stays.
internet connection ishes like last time, and
Internet
then microphone.
air quotes
Yeah.
internet connection.
You literally doubt everything I say. My whole life is an air quote to you.
All right. What are we doing today? Does anybody, I think the first thing, does anyone have a full disclosure this week?
I don't have a full disclosure, but what I do have is
Oh, okay.
the residuals of a high from a Nashville Community Concert Band concert this week that I'm
Great.
coming down from. So that was epic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you play some John Philip Sousa or
No Sousa.
no Sousa? Wow.
No.
Oh, I don't know how you can feel so high.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Wow.
we're talking municipal concert bands here.
Well, how many people
That's
were
the
in
size it
attendance
gets.
for this concert?
You know, I think that there were maybe 50 or so.
Wow.
It's pretty badass.
Yeah. Full
That's
crowd.
exponential growth probably from the last one.
Dang.
Well, yep.
Sweet.
It made me think about the little chants that you used to do, Spenny, for marching.
What
band
time is it?
competitions. What time is it?
What time
Band
is it?
time. What time is it? Band time. Any
Any
dogs in the house? Woof, 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 woof. Any
Oh
dogs in
my
the house?
God,
Woof, woof,
yes.
woof.
Man,
I
I
do
hated
remember
that.
those.
At the end, I hated that.
So
I don't know why
picture,
I kept having to do that.
picture. Well, I guess it helps if you know what Spenny looks like. But picture a kid with a sousaphone and a beret.
For those of you who don't know what a sousaphone is, it's a massive tuba that wraps around your back and your shoulders and then pops out 6 feet over your head. It's the biggest, tallest
Yes.
Yeah. So
instrument.
young Spenny marched sousaphone and marching band, and I can still remember the first time that you did that, and it was you didn't tell anyone that you were going to do that. I didn't hear about it, and all of a sudden you just walked in front of the band, and the director said, "All right, you going to do this?" And then you start doing this stupid little chant. And
Yeah, it's so awesome because you guys were all percussionists and you guys were just making fun of me the whole time.
Yeah.
Every time
Well,
I did it, just
obviously,
look
yeah.
over at you guys like, this guy, this loser up there.
I mean, you did have the biggest instrument, so
yeah. But I never asked, did you make that up, or what's the origin of that little chant?
God, I can't even remember. I think I think the origins of it is that it was from a church camp.
Oh,
Did
nice.
it to get pumped up for Jesus.
Nice.
So
man,
that was a while ago.
that'll work.
Well,
We had a lot of fun in band.
yeah. What?
And then it also brought back memories of Bryan, just senior year of high school. We had our band was our first period in the day, fresh in the morning, first thing. And I think Bryan must have had calculus second period or something. Or
You did my homework every day.
Because every single day for that year, it's Bryan sitting in the back behind the bass drum, hiding, copying my calculus homework every single day.
Hey, I still got an A in that class, and I did really well on the
You're
test.
welcome. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
I had to pull my weight eventually. But
Yeah.
but
Some
you
of
did
us
you did
actually
all the
had to
heavy
play the instruments.
Yeah, you did all the heavy morning lifting. I fucked off in that entire year was just one piss off fest for me. I just remember when we were marching. I don't know. We were
doing the tracksuit?
Yeah. Well, no. I was gonna say the tracksuit, but the first thing that came to mind was when we were. I don't know. When sometimes you run different sections are running things, and then others are just like kind of standing around waiting for them to do it. And I was like seeing how high I could throw the drumstick. And then try and get it to I was trying to get it to rim shot off of my snare drum, and I threw it 40 feet, 50 feet in the air, however high a little teenager could possibly throw it. And I'm waddling underneath it with my snare drum, and then it just goes, thump, and it
Right through the head.
Kevlar. It went
The brand new ones that
brand
they just
new.
got
The stick just
the year
stuck
before.
vertically in the head of it.
man.
I felt pretty good about that.
And then our percussion instructor, she was, I don't know, absent at best. And when she was there, she was not mentally there. And that was on a particularly bad day for her, I think, because she saw you do that. And because I was watching and I just saw the life drain out of her eyes and just thinking, this is my life dealing with these kids. And I think she just basically put you in timeout. The result of that was you didn't have to march around in the 100-degree heat or whatever it was that day. So you got to go take a break.
Yeah. Hey, go stand over in the shade and think about what you've done. All right.
But then my other favorite memory of you senior year in band is we, for some, I don't know, there was some competition thing later in the year where we had to do a percussion ensemble piece for something that we had never done before. And we did maybe 2 or 3 rehearsals for this piece after school. And Bryan, the only thing he got to do is hit a gong a couple times or something. That was his entire role. And the director, after our first or second rehearsal, maybe, we sounded terrible, right? And so the director said, well, you guys got to practice this. You guys got to take this stuff home and practice it. And so Bryan puts the gong on his back and says, all right, guys, see you later. I'm going home to practice.
Sounds like something you totally do.
Time out. Yeah. That was a pain in the ass often in that class.
Just 3 band geeks being rebellious. I mean,
yeah, we're sitting here talking nostalgia when there's a major sci-fi movie discussion that's about to take place.
It's a perfect segue too. I mean,
you want to cue this up?
Yeah,
Spenny?
let's get into this. So the movie for this week, I teased it at the end of the last episode with a scene from the movie, and it was just epic music and led to someone sounding like they're being killed with a
very slow death.
Yeah.
Very, very slow death.
The longest scream, most obnoxious.
So this movie is Krull from 1983. And the reason I have a little bit of a backstory on this personally. So I grew up on an acreage in South Dakota. It's rural. So we didn't have cable. We had satellite. And we had one of those
gigantic,
ginormous,
right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And it was connected to one of those huge 36-inch tube TVs that has the wood casing all around it.
Yeah.
So it weighs like 800 pounds and it sits in your living room. We also had a laser disc player, but the big thing was we had a giant C-band satellite, the big white one. It's like 10 feet wide. And I just remember this movie specifically, we had HBO, but the way you got HBO on the old satellites is you had to type in like signal codes. It was like ComNet 9 or something. Whoa. And you'd type it in, and then the satellite would move. You'd lose signal, wait for it to move over, and then bam, you have your signal.
That's wild.
Wow.
So this is one of those movies that just brought back nostalgia for me as a kid. I remember it being spooky.
Yeah.
I was a little kid, younger kid.
I could see that.
But so that's why I picked it, and seeing what it was like 25 years later. It's interesting.
Yeah. So then my first question, just based off of that, is, did it hold up to like your amazement or fright?
There were some pieces that I remember being cooler as a kid.
Yeah.
There's also some things I just did not remember. And we'll get into it when we talk about it. But man, this was a journey. This was a journey.
This is like, to me, I'm not trying to bash it right out the gates, but it was like a super boring Lord of the Rings. So just
Star Wars ripoff.
Yeah, with the swords and they light up. But like, I don't want to get into too many details, but like overarching story, by the end of it, I was like, I mean, I was checked in because I was watching it, but like, you know.
It was also 2 hours long.
Yeah, full transparency. It was hardly keeping my attention, but like the effects and like the funny dialogue and stuff like that. It's just.
Well, so let me give the synopsis. Let's go into it. And then when we're done, I want to give you guys some facts about the movie itself before we give a review.
Love it.
Or give our ratings. So synopsis, I wrote this one too. I'm sure this one will be very exciting. An evil and powerful being called the Beast arrives to the planet Krull. He and his army of slayers arrive to take the planet and the galaxy. The planet Krull has a princess named Lissa, who is preparing to wed the hot and maverick Prince Colwyn. In the middle of their wedding ceremony, the kingdom is overrun by slayers, and Lissa is captured and taken by the Beast. Colwyn must trek to the highest mountain where he finds a mystical weapon called the Glaive, a 5-point weapon with blades. After he finds the Glaive, Colwyn, with a gang of rebels and misfits, and even a cyclops, go out on an adventure to attempt to rescue the Princess Lissa and defeat the Beast and save the galaxy.
That was really good.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Did you call the prince hot? What was that line?
Hot Maverick.
Hot Maverick.
Yeah. I mean, did you see the abs on that guy?
Hey, I made a note. That guy was ripped, and I don't remember seeing
they're not built like that anymore.
Right?
That's just,
I know.
I mean, there's two things that are just amazing. I think are amazing. One, the music is phenomenal. I mean, the music overshadows the movie 10-1 in my opinion.
Okay. Yep.
Oh, okay.
I have a note about that.
Oh, I would like to. Yeah, I'm very curious.
I mean, so the movie starts with this grand overture of trumpets, while this giant petrified wood with a red orb in it just starts flying. Yeah. What else is it?
My first note is opening scene of a space boomerang followed by 4 minutes of a wooden spaceship. That's the first 5 minutes of this movie.
Yeah, that was one of my first notes. Was like at a certain point, and in the entirety of this movie, I felt like the people in charge of the VFX were just like flexing. I mean, this was advanced for like, so I was actually really impressed, but it's like you had this like super cool petrified wood thing. And then this 5 minutes of like this thing landing, it just took so long.
Yeah. That, and there's a scene at the end, the same thing where it's like,
where it's leaving.
Like, yeah, people are just sitting there and the thing is just keeps going.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
But anyway, so it opens with this giant thing flying by. You see a glade comes flying through in space, and then it moves. It's two moon planet or a 2 sun planet. I forget. I think it's 2 sun. But anyways,
actually. Had 2 stars and 2 moons.
oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Nice.
The same angular diameter too. So those means are huge. Huge. Or the equal distance of, I guess it would work out as that the distance of the planet to the moons is the same as how many times bigger the stars are as the moons.
Okay.
That makes
Got
sense.
it. Sure.
All right.
Well,
I'm
then
not going to challenge you on that.
No. I mean, the beginning is basically the ship lands. All of the slayers are like hoisting their swords in the air, like, rah, rah, rah. And then it kind of cuts to like this gang of guys like riding on their horses, and it's Colwyn riding to the princess.
Mm-hmm.
This part was so amazing because out of the gate, the lip sync on the opening dialogue or the opening interaction between this princess and her dad is so off, and it's so loud when it cuts to the montage scenes of these horseback riders where there's no sound whatsoever. There's no horse hoofbeat sounds at all. It's just them talking.
Yeah.
And it's so loud. And then when it cuts to them speaking, it's so clearly off.
I do remember
so
that.
funny.
Yeah, did you look up why it was like that? By
Did
chance?
you?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh,
So the actress that was playing the princess is British, and they really wanted her to do it. But once she started doing the parts, they felt like her voice wasn't mature enough. So they got a 35-year-old American actress to dub over all the lines in this movie.
Oh, man.
So it is a British actress in person and an American actress voicing.
that is
That's
wild.
amazing.
Well, mad props from a sound engineer standpoint to like line that up given the time period like that they made the movie and the tool sets at hand. I mean, that would be a lot easier to do these days and wouldn't even blink at doing something like that. But to line that up, I didn't even know. I mean, I noticed the dialogue was off in the beginning a little bit, but like you never would have guessed that was what took place. So they had me fooled.
Yeah, I didn't know that till I looked into it. And I was just like, holy cow.
Yeah.
I do have to say that because this was shot on film, right? And so I watched this on YouTube, I think. And so it actually looked pretty decent.
Mm-hmm.
And I think film is easier to upscale, right, than
Yes.
previous digital content. So it actually looked pretty decent, and the color was actually really good
Yeah.
for the time.
Yeah.
And
What did you guys think about set design? Like, I guess if we're kind of peeling up or like building the layers up of this, like, did you have any strong opinions?
This whole thing was done at a studio outside of the aerial shots. The whole thing.
Wow.
that's impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, it was goofy, right? It's super goofy, but
For sure.
But just think of the effort goes into like building those.
Yeah.
yeah,
Like the swamp or like the quicksand scene.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah, it was built at the same one that did 007.
Yeah. I'm impressed.
So I have to circle back to the score, the movie score, and you were impressed with it, Spenny. You said
I was for the time.
So yeah, it was made by James Horner, which is probably the most prolific Hollywood score composer.
Yep.
He's done so many things. But the thing about him is that he has this reputation of ripping off everything. And at one point there's a scene, a chase type scene or a battle type scene where the music is so clearly this classical composition from Gustav Holst's The Planets. It's so clearly Mars, but with maybe an extra beat added in so that
That's how it's done.
I guess different.
Yep.
And I then looked up James Horner to see or I looked up the score to see if they just listed Mars, and no, it was some
Some other show.
random composition. And then I stumbled upon this reputation that he had of just ripping stuff off.
I did read that it sounded like he used a lot of songs in different movies as well. Like he just takes pieces from what he started with and he adds layers to it as he went through his career.
Interesting.
But, well, yeah, interesting. Well, anyways, do you want to go back to the movie?
Let's get back on track, because the first scene is probably my favorite dialogue-wise, because the first scene is after the wooden spaceship lands or whatever. It's this princess and her dad talking about how she wants to marry this prince from this different land. And the dad says, nah, you're not doing that. And she says, well, I am. So, and they're also on their way. And the dad also says they're on their way. And so then that's the entourage of riders, the horseback riders that they keep flashing back to. So then they arrive at this castle, and immediately there's maybe 10 horseback riders. They come into the castle gates, and immediately the king who's arriving says, where the hell were you guys? You said you were going to help us. You were going to send an escort here. And the other king said, well, I sent 20 men. What do you want? Oh, I lost 300 men getting here. And the host king says, well, I didn't want you to come. And the arriving king says, well, I didn't want to come either. And then the prince comes off. He looks like a completely average rider at this point. He's just an average. He's not ornate in any way. He just gets off a horse and says, well, I wanted to come for the princess. And just the bickering between these two kings immediately. I sent you 20 men. What do you want? I lost 300 men getting here. I didn't want you to go. I didn't want to come anyways.
I did make note of, I just said the dialogue, like the beginning part in my notes. Just like, it just seemed, well, I also, the father's, what was his line? He said something about what makes a good husband. It was like a warrior or like a fighter makes a terrible husband or something like that.
That's what the dad told the princess.
Yeah, but like he knew he was coming. He disapproved, but is obviously going to go through with it. But that's how that dialogue with his daughter ends. Was just like, not going to be a good husband. And then they're like meeting him in the entrance, and then they bicker.
Yeah. So the princess and the prince just kind of hide off and meet. They knew each other previously. Right. Yeah. And she says, well, my dad said that, warriors are crap husbands. And he said, well, I'm a warrior. I don't know what you're going to expect.
Yeah. He says something like,
he affirms what
he says something like,
I don't know what you expect. That's
well, I don't know what you want. I mean, that's who I am, I guess.
He says it depends on whether you want to keep me tied down or something like that. Yeah. And then that's how the dialogue, it was like a cliffhanger, just like the conversation with the dad about the same topic.
Next scene is the wedding, and it happens in a hallway. Yeah. Right? The two kings with their kids come down separate hallways. They meet in the middle
with candles.
The two dads say,
ooh, real quick. The prince asks the queen, is this where it takes place? Like where they were standing. And and she says yes. And then it's happening in a completely different
place.
This is like so many things that didn't happen.
I forgot about that. Yeah. The next 10 seconds later or less, completely different place. Yeah. They meet in just a hallway. Mm-hmm. And the two kings say, our lands are gone. It's all for the kids now. Our lands are conjoined.
We turn turn the flames off our two kingdoms, and we just wander the children.
And then that is essentially is the wedding right there.
Yeah.
And then they go into this other room, which should be the ceremony about the prince, or I guess the man extinguishes his flame. Right. And the only way he'll get a flame back is if the woman gives her flame to him. Okay. And so throughout this symbolism, he has the torch that he extinguishes in this pool.
Big old vat of water. Yep.
Okay.
I mean, it's cool that they had the flame in their hands.
Well, That's beside the point, because you see him extinguish his flame and he makes this whole big thing about, I'm getting rid of my flame, right? Only you can give it back to me. Next scene, his torch is lit still. Right? Did you guys see that?
No.
They cut away to show her, and then in the next shot where they're both in frame, his torch is just still lit.
Well,
That's yeah.
the only other thing I could think from that ceremony was just how loud they were banging those swords.
The
It
tink
was so loud
against the armor. Yeah.
Which, by the way, the armor is sweet. I thought the armor was cool of those guys
Yeah.
because they're all red and they had they're like futuristic.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, I guess that part of the ceremony, the attendees, this is a castle, right? Conjoining kingdoms. And 95% of the people there were just guards. And there were a couple of extra, I don't know.
Well, slayers. They had They had to worry about slayers.
And, okay, I guess. Well, speaking of which.
But bam! They knock down the door, say, "What's up, guys?" And they just start meleeing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, the battle.
Did you guys love that? So like they start just kicking the crap out of people. And like one of the first scenes is all of a sudden the slayers on the wall, like walking up. You could obviously they just have somebody pulling them up.
Yeah.
And they're just
They're like moving their arms like they're walking on something, but they're not even like their hands
not
are like not
touching
even
the
touching
wall.
Not touching anything.
Yeah, I thought that was really funny. But also, just I don't know. Maybe you guys caught it, maybe you didn't. It's a pretty insignificant detail, but it just made me laugh. Was the prince is like dodging and dipping and diving and ducking, and everybody is just like getting slaughtered, and somehow he's
they
just
all
like,
die.
yeah, no, he is just missing it.
Yeah.
Until he does this stupid little bunny hop jump, and while he's in midair jumping, he takes his sword from this hand and goes.
Yep.
And catches it in this hand, and it was. I think it was supposed to look cool, but it seemed like just served no purpose. And then he immediately got shot because he did this. I contend it was because he was being cocky about his stupid little sword transfer. But I just said in my notes, stupid little sword hand switch hop, then got shot and falls down the stairs.
Well, that was immediately after he throws a chair, right?
Yeah.
So you have to, the audience needs to picture what's happening here. It's these tree aliens, right? These slayers. And they have, their weapons are laser guns on one end.
one end.
That they can shoot once. And then they flip it over and it becomes some kind of staff or sword thing. Yeah. And then the humans just have swords that turn into lightsabers when they come in contact with the slayers or something. I don't know.
Yeah. That was a steal from Star Wars.
For sure.
Yeah, it's a complete ripoff of Star Wars at this point. And the battle that's happening is almost every single extra is just standing still and getting shot.
Yep.
Or moving like
It was like
swaying
there was
side to
so
side.
many people in the scene. They're like, I can't choreograph this. You guys just stand there and then we'll just pick you off one by one.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do?
Because
we made make the stage big enough.
they literally all die.
Yeah.
Every single person there dies.
Except the
princess
prince
gets captured and the prince gets shot and he
Takes a
passes out.
tumble down the stairs.
Yeah.
Passes out.
But in my notes to your point, Brian, about how he's just kind of jumping around, it was basically Three Musketeers. He's just like musketeer, just kind of like, with some panache, twirling and pirouetting.
Not
and
a lot of panache. He was very stiff in his movements, but I just like admired the whole scene because it was like, I think they were going for chaos, but like, what they got, it just didn't quite transfer like chaos. It looked like unorganized, tame. I don't know. It was just like, mostly felt like people were standing around until they fell over.
Standing still and then getting told to tumble.
Yep.
Because
this movie just, I mean, the thing that was so funny about it is like the dialogue between the dad, the king, and his daughter, and all of a sudden it's just like well, we're off to the races. Let's go. Like,
Yeah, they're all
it's just
dead.
like there's
Yeah.
there's no build up to the story. It's just like they're here. Let's go.
Which was a deceiving thing to do given how long the movie was. Like coming out the gates, it was like bam, action. And I was like, okay, this is going to be funny. And then it was just the long road, the great wide open, if you will.
Yep.
But there were so many funny parts along the way. I'm not saying it was boring. I'm just saying like it was just it's high volume action at the beginning with underwhelming acting and all that. But
Yeah. There's some cool people in the later. But after he gets shot, so it's like the next day, everyone's dead. This old guy comes in, and he's called the Old One.
Which this old guy was seen briefly in a previous scene where all the Slayers are marching towards the castle and he's hiding. They walk half a foot in front of him.
Yep.
Right? The entire army marches immediately right by him and they don't see him at all.
Yep.
And then
dark.
he's just there.
Yeah.
It was dark. They couldn't see him.
Oh, right. It was dark. Gotcha.
Yeah.
My one thing that I thought was so funny. So he is like, Colwyn is hurt and he's like lathering ointment on him with his shirt off. And then he's like telling him, like everyone's dead. Your dad died. And he's like, no. And he's like crying. And the guy's like, stop crying. Stop like being a baby. Like the second, like any cry comes out of his mouth, he's already shutting him off.
Yeah.
Like you can't mourn. You can't mourn.
Just no time.
We got stuff to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I just thought it was funny how quickly they just became destined buds. Like it's just
He shows up, rubs some Vaseline on him and tells him, we gotta go. You're all dead.
We got a mission.
But then he said, if you don't want to come, that's fine too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He says,
So
here's some Vaseline. I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
You should probably come with me if you want to.
Yep. Okay,
Find
so
those
then they leave there, and what happens next? Because he convinces him to come with him.
Yeah, and he says, you're going to need more than a sword. You'll need the glaive. And it's in the cave on the highest peak. But you can go by yourself. So he gets to like a point in the mountains where they're on this adventure, and he's like, I can't go any further. You got to do this yourself. And he gets to this part when he's climbing, and all of a sudden you just see boulders falling down the hill. And he's just doing that same thing where he's like, like bouncing around. Watch out for the boulders. And it's just like all of a sudden the boulders stop. And he's like, okay, I'm going to go up.
Yep.
But mostly he does a little bit of juking and driving and stuff. But then most of the time he's just laying on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And they just roll past him.
In his stupid pirate pants.
Yeah. He has striped leather pants or something.
Yeah.
Like minstrel pants or something.
So he finally climbs this mountain to the highest point.
Yep. Yeah, he finds some random crack.
There's like a crack.
Right? It's not obvious.
Yeah,
at
there's
all.
like
he finds some random crack and then he reaches his hand into a magma pool and
that part was really funny to me because he just like walked in and he just like looks down in front of him and there's just this like faint outline of a 5-prong thing, which in his mind he's like, oh my God, this is it. But it's like everything is indicating that this is liquid magma. Like it is
everything.
It is hot. And he just goes over, takes his hand and just like, I mean, he looks like he's really discerning whether this is a good idea or not. And then he just slides it in and has no reaction to it in his face whatsoever. But then there's flames that shoot out like around his hand to indicate that it's supposed to be hot, but he doesn't go, he doesn't even make a noise. He just reaches down, grabs this thing that looks like a poop covered star.
Yeah, sweet. I wrote sweet starfish, bro.
And obviously it sheds the poop and then you see what it is.
Yeah, it's gold. It's the glaive.
It's the space boomerang.
Mm-hmm.
Space boomerang. It's got 5 blades.
Oh, yeah.
Once again, a weapon that rarely ever gets used.
Yeah.
Even though it's supposed to be this super powerful thing. Anyways. After that, it did one of those things throughout the movie. It does this where it cuts to the beast and the princess. One of these weird like flashes where she's captured. And the only way I can describe the beast is you only see parts of him at one time. and he looks like a fish lizard.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
It looks like a fish lizard predator. Like,
and she's trapped in like
Inside him.
inside him,
Something.
but she's also looking at him. It's like he has two different bodies.
Yeah. And he's also 500 feet tall too.
yeah.
Right. But he wants her to marry him.
Right.
It just,
But he can take-
I don't know how that's compatible, but
Yeah.
I don't know how it's going to work.
his entire
But then-
motivation is confusing to me, but I'm sure we'll get to that.
But then the old man is like, well, we got to find the blind emerald seer. So it's a day trip from the mountains to the forest. So they take a trip. And then this guy comes flying into a puddle, splashes. They meet another guy that's joining their team. His name's Ergo the Magnificent. Some of you might know him as Mr. Turkentine from Willy Wonka. He's the teacher who was upset that Charlie only got 2 chocolate bars when he was trying to do his math equation. So that's the guy. And then...
oh man, it's basically a fuzzy little red orb that comes shooting at them and lands in a pool. And then all of a sudden there's a guy standing in the pool or a pond.
Yeah.
And he says, I'm drowning. He's standing up.
Standing,
Yeah.
he's standing vertically and is waving his arms like this, like side to side. He's like, I'm drowning. But then he just like
He just walks
out. Yeah. That was really funny. And also his reason for even being there the entire movie, because his magic, the first time he tries to use it, they're like, they meet the bandits or whatever. I'm not trying to jump ahead here, but they meet the bandits. And I think he says something like, I'll turn them all into pigs. And then he just turns himself into a pig and then gets trapped between 2 swords.
Yeah, no, you're forgetting. His first bit of magic was, I was trying to get some pie, right? I was in this interdimensional tunnel thing. I was trying to get some pie and I ended up here. So I'm going to turn you into goose. And because that makes sense, he turns himself into a goose, freaks out, turns himself back, leaves, sees a cyclops, comes back, and then
Thank you. Yes, that whole sequence was important. I forgot the first time the cyclops shows, just like he just walks up the hill, sees it, and then he comes back down and is like, all right, I'm a part of the group now.
But okay, so you talk about the bandits. So basically the next scene is they take this shortcut through some rocks or something. It doesn't matter, but
saves him a half day.
Yep.
Yeah. So you see some people skulking about, hiding in these rocks outside of the path of where they're walking.
Yep.
And so they're trying to stay hidden, right? And the goose guy says, he tells the prince, he leans into the prince, and he says, there's bandits around here, right? He can't see them, but he says, so there's some bandits around us. And then the prince, I don't know, did you guys hear this? He just mumbles back, I don't know if there's bandits around us. And then that was this, and then the bandits jump out, but you couldn't understand him at all. He's, I don't know if
Yeah, I don't know what he says. I turn the subtitles off. I don't know. Just muffled, indiscernible.
But then at that point, 2 bandits
Yep.
throw axes at each other at the goose guy, and the axes meet in the middle, in the air.
Yep.
Yeah, and they perfectly
collapse onto the goose.
But he wasn't. Now he's a pig.
Yeah,
because that's the scene where he's like, "I'll turn them all into pigs," and he turns himself into a pig in the midst of all of these bandits. It's like so useless, and continues to be useless. He later turns himself into a dog for no reason. I think he just wanted to be carried.
There was a reason.
He wanted to be carried, but he had a horse. He could have ridden a horse. And so instead of riding a horse, he chose to be carried on a horse on top of a lap as a dog.
Yeah, that's right.
And then when you see him as the dog is barely hanging on to the person who's holding him.
Well, in this scene, he wins over all these robber guys.
Yeah.
2 of them being Hagrid and Liam Neeson.
Yep.
And
I mean, that was like the easiest persuasion. Like, yeah, come on my trip.
Yeah,
Like,
well, it had something to do with the key. He had a key because he was a prince and he could take the shackles off of him.
yeah,
Yeah,
he
but
took
But
one off.
then
Deserted prisoners.
But like, yeah, because they were escaped prisoners. But like, in showing them that he could do this, the bandits, rather than like just letting them come off, say, what do they say? They're like, we'll
just wait till we
keep 'em
do
on.
it.
we'll keep them on for the entirety of all of this,
Yeah.
and we'll join your forces if we win. We take them off. What is the logic in that? There's no logic.
because
It's
they
like we're about to go into war. Let me just keep
just-
these thick fucking cuffs on my hands.
because the guy just said no one takes orders from anyone.
That's right.
Especially not a king, unless it's me
Yep.
and I'm
Yep,
not a
yep, yep.
king. So we're free people.
Yep.
We're gonna keep these cuffs on though because that would otherwise impede what we do.
Yeah.
Irrelevant.
It really was. So they get the bandits to join with them. They were 3, now they are 30,
10, 15,
10,
I don't know.
15, not a lot.
10.
But this is the part. This is one of the times. This is the first one. So they're traveling and they stop, and Goose Boy like gets off on his own, and you see one of these slayers in the distance, and it's like, oh, he's gonna die. This is it.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden you see a cyclops and this trident come just launching, destroying a slayer, and that's when you hear the first like dying.
Yeah. Yeah, the squealing, yeah.
And that was just like,
And then so these slayers look like humans
Yeah.
in armor, but then when they die, they just turn into slugs that slither out of the helmet.
giant. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if they were going for like a epicenter villain, or like a brain, like it was like a controlling brain and it had all these things.
Hive mind.
Yeah,
type
hive
thing.
mind, that's the word I was looking for. But I don't know. It was too loose. They were too loose with it
knows?
to like know really what
Too
was
loose.
going on. So, yeah. But that scene where he throws a trident, I just, once again, proving my point that the guy who can transform himself into pointless animals is again pointless, because he sees the Slayer, and then the guy, the Cyclops throws a trident, and in the process of throwing that trident, it must have just been enough to it just overwhelmed him and to be shocked. Like he just passes out. And so then the guy comes over and rubs ointment on his eyebrows.
More Vaseline.
Yeah, more on his eyebrows specifically. He rubs it looks like he was rubbing a unibrow right across him. And then all of a sudden he goes, wakes up again. And yeah, I was like, why is this guy a part of all of this? He wasn't even funny. He wasn't even funny.
You did learn that the reason the Cyclops have one eye is they made a deal with the Beast.
That's right.
And
That was kind of a cool.
that actually
story
was,
element.
Yeah.
He got tricked, and the only vision they thought they were going to get vision, but the only vision they got was their own death.
Yep.
They were going to get future vision.
So
right?
no. Yeah. So the Cyclops were from a different planet that the Beast had previously been to, and they were at war. But the Cyclops people said, "We're going to stop the war," and in return, or something, they gave up one of their eyes so that they could see the future.
Yes.
But they were tricked into only seeing their own personal deaths.
Yep. Wow. That's brutal.
That's deep.
Yep. Yeah, but
That's a typical day right there.
Typical day.
yeah. Yeah, you're right. I did think when the Cyclops, when he was like introducing himself, it was so very apparent that guy could not see what he was doing, because like they go for handshakes with the Cyclops, and the hands, like they were like,
Yeah.
like just the first handshake he goes for is actually like almost a complete miss. There's like a second grab, and they're like, and I just think that the people who are reviewing the footage in post were just like, well, we'll make that work. That'll be fine. It'll be a quick scene. It's fine. But totally missed it.
Well,
So
this was like my favorite part after this.
When they get to the seer?
when they're trying to find Black Guy McSqueezy green light door.
Yep.
Emerald door appears, and they walk through it, and it's this cave.
Old guy, homie, just walks up to our rock and just says, and then there was this millisecond shot of two people in this dark room, and this guy says, "Oh, I know, I recognize that guy." And then all of a sudden, there's this green light, and then it's funny that the green light that emanates from this rock perfectly keys out all of the greenery.
Yep.
Right. So all the shrubs and trees and grass and stuff are just black in line of this green light because they, in post or whatever, they couldn't handle both things.
Yeah.
And so then just a few of them walk in.
But yeah, it's the creepy blind emerald guy is sitting at a table with an emerald in front of him. And then Cowlin sits by him, and then old man grabs the smallest stool I have ever seen. Like, what was the point? It was 2 inches high.
Yeah, it was a stool that they each had a shorter and shorter stool. There was only 3 of them there, right? The prince had a stool shorter than the old guy, and then the blind guy, and then the old guy had a 1-inch stool. He looked so uncomfortable. And then the goose guy was in there too for some reason. And he talks to this kid that's there. And he says,
Twitch!
"Bro, you got any sweets?" And the kid pulls out a Snickers bar. The goose guy only wants candy.
Yeah.
I think that's in sweets and pies and stuff.
But
But that's basically it. They try to have a vision. The old guy tries to see where the whole point of going there was the wooden spaceship changes location every day, so they can't just march to it because they don't know where it's going to be.
right.
But the seer the blind guy can tell where it's going to be. So he tries to do this thing, and then all of a sudden his little crystal shatters and the beast fist comes out of nowhere.
Yep.
And the blind guy says,
Crunches it.
"Yeah, I can't do this here. We got to go to my HQ or a different HQ."
Yep.
Gotta go to the swamp.
Yep.
Yeah, and
So
that's
they go to the swamp.
they gotta go to the tower in the swamp. And that's what they're like, all right, mount up. And they all walk back and they just go back to their adventure of going to the swamp.
Yeah.
And they have to ride through the swamp. And
This is the quicksand scene, right?
Yeah.
We're getting there.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, I guess it is. Yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
okay.
yeah, go for it.
There's one other thing before we get there, and this
Yeah.
is a theme throughout the rest of the movie. The blind guy has this staff, this walking stick,
Oh, yeah.
and it's ornamented with this set of jingle bells, which is completely picked up on the mics in every single shot that it's on. And so it's these rattling jingle bells that. So, okay, you guys, why don't you guys continue talking about the next scene? I'll try and demonstrate what happens here.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Bryan. You want to talk about the quicksand?
Well, all I had to say about the quicksand was that it was. All I wanted to say was I thought the quicksand scene was actually pretty great. Like, for making it a quick, like, for it being so obviously not, I don't know what they even use. It was like dry stuff underneath wet stuff. It just was like really funny looking, but
yeah,
I thought it was like emotionally gripping when they couldn't save the one dude. Just like,
yeah, but
take my bag instead.
Everything
They all get
up
caught
to
in
that, and then he's like,
Oh my God.
let me get on my podium. I'm just gonna launch this bag. It was like everything was
Burlap sack. that he
yeah,
was
everything
carrying.
was building up for this to be really tragic, and then all of a sudden it's just like he stops, plants both feet, and then he just launches a giant bag full of stuff.
Yep.
Okay.
And then it's like, oh, I can't hold you. And then you
All
die.
10 or 12 of them or whatever get caught in this quicksand.
Yep.
And the people farther in the back have farther to go. They're in it for the longest, so they are sinking the most, right?
Yep.
Right.
So it's this gigantic coordinated effort to get everyone out. One homie stays back for no reason. He's keeps sinking. This scene is several minutes long of them just trudging around this quicksand.
That's
right?
really long.
Yeah.
So they all get out, he's still back there. They all go back in to get that guy.
See, I thought they were
can't.
doing that whole like the monkeys in a barrel thing, but they were doing that for like multiple people who were just like too lazy to make their way across. They're like didn't want them to move, so then they would like daisy chain out, and they just kept doing that. They kept going out, and that one dude was just sitting dead in the middle.
Pow! 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 So they're all stuck. They all get out doing that monkeys in a barrel thing.
Yep.
They see the one guy that was just doing nothing except sinking. Yeah. They all go back in.
Oh yeah.
and then they lose, and then they just walk out.
All for one or one for all.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a shot where then they just turn around and walk out.
Oh my gosh.
Well, during all this, the Emerald Seer is sitting by himself because everyone's trying to save everybody.
Yes.
And you just see the exact same guy, but he has black eyes coming up to him, and then just gets him, and then all of a sudden it switches to the next scene.
Yep. The copycat kills the original, and then they're just walking through the swamp again.
Walking through the swamp, and then this is where this epic part comes, where the music is playing, and the Magic Seer says he needs to go alone with Colwyn to get to the whatever place they're going, the castle or whatever.
And this is the scene that you teased.
This is the scene I teased, last week, and it's like da, 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 da. And then you see some feet. And then, of course, right as they're getting close, this is the fight you seek. And then he gets grabbed on Colwyn gets grabbed on the neck by this evil seer. And then, of course, Cyclops shows up and just launches his trident and smokes it.
Launches that
just kills him.
He's my favorite character, the Cyclops. He's my favorite.
Just randomly shows up and throws a trident.
Yep.
Yeah.
The trident in every scene that he throws it, just you see it follow a straight path, right? There's no arc at all. There's no gravity. It's just straight.
That dude's strong.
Very strong. Well, he's huge too. Yeah. So shouldn't be surprised. Well, after that, they find the other old seer is dead. And they're like, shoot, he's dead. What are we gonna do?
Yeah. So they went into that swamp for nothing.
Yeah, it was
around because
that was like
there's no seer to go to the castle.
Yeah. It was like a 10-minute scene walking through a swamp for nothing.
And so this whole time they brought that kid with the Snickers bar because I think he was his apprentice or something.
He said he said that's the only family I've ever had.
Yeah. So did you guys catch the line where the prince says about the seer, he gave his life for us? What? No, he didn't. He was murdered from behind. He had nothing to do with it. It was not his choice at all. And it served no purpose because then they couldn't had to figure something else out.
So what comes next? Is this the part where they find the giant pack of wild horses, or is that later?
No, this is the part. So after that, they have to go.
As you can tell, I was really paying attention.
Riveted. Yeah, you have to find. They need to find the new seer, and that's when the old man says he has to go see the Lady of the Web. And then this is where Ergo turns into the puppy, and they got rid of their horses before the swamp, and I totally forgot they had horses. And then all of a sudden they were on horses again because they had to go all the way. They backtracked all the way, to wherever they were
out of the swamp. And then it's Sound of Music, horseback riding scenery, where they're horseback riding through mountains.
Is this where they collected the horses though? Because there was something that was very funny that happened during that process.
We haven't got there yet. Okay. This is the part where you find out Liam Neeson's got 8 wives. They stop for the night. The old man has to go up to see the spider lady.
Okay, so they take however long it takes to get there. It's basically nighttime.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And they get off their horses, and the prince says, "Oh, man, bro, we have no food. And
nothing.
Everyone's just beat. We can't hunt anything." And the main bandit says, "Well, this homie has 8 or 9 wives, and one of them is just in town here,
just down the road.
Right? There's no town, right? They're in this
just by the river,
traveling through forest and open mountainsides. And then he says, well, homie's got a wife in town here. And he says, nah, she moved. And then the next scene, they just have a bunch of food.
She's there help.
There's a bunch of women just serving them food out in the forest. And it just, I don't know. It just didn't make sense.
I was all sorts of confused during that.
That's the part where like this one of the girls I was helping feed like goes with the prince Colwyn, and like she's been taken over by the beast and she's trying to kill him, and they stop her. But the biggest thing is while this is all going on, is old man goes to see the web lair.
Yep.
Or the spider lady.
Which once again, set design,
it's
was
wind
really
chimes,
cool.
Right? What? Yeah. So that this whole thing was done with stop motion. That whole spider.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which is really impressive.
Yeah, that is really impressive.
He gets to this cave, and then there's this gigantic spider web ball orb thing in the middle of this cavern, and a whole bunch of giant spider webs that lead up to it. The purpose of this is that this spider lady can see the future too, or whatever. It doesn't matter. She can see stuff, and but everyone who's tried to go there to get her advice dies or doesn't come back. Maybe they get it, but they don't come back because the spider will kill them either before they get to the spider lady or on their way out. And so they used to be married or something. So he knows he's gotten in, is convinced that he can get there. He gets there. It doesn't matter. The scene is like, he figures out where
it's the weirdest scene because it's like the darkest scene of the whole movie. Because she's talking about like they used to be together and they had a kid and she killed the son.
Yeah.
And you're like, what is happening?
Yeah. Yeah, I was all sorts of confused, and also was just like also very confused about the spider and why it looked like at one point it looked like it was going to attack, but then at another point it was just like standing there, and I think they were just like that they were so enamored by the fact that they get the stop motion to look as cool as it did that they were just like, we got to do more of this spider. Like flex.
You got to keep doing it.
Yeah.
So the spider lady has this hourglass, so he calls her name and convinces her to, I guess, give him more time before the spider would get him. So she has this hourglass with red sand, and she turns the hourglass on, and that pauses the spider. Okay. So the entire hourglass runs out before he's moved at all. Did you guys catch that?
Yeah.
He hasn't made any progress.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know.
The hourglass is out, and then he has to scramble out the rest of the way.
Didn't the spider sound? It sounded like a digitized lawnmower.
That's interesting. I almost I don't even remember what it.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was really loud,
screeches and stuff, and
wow.
So they have this reunion, and he says, "Yeah, I don't care if you killed my kid or not because I didn't know I had a kid. So what difference does that make?" And
so brutal.
and then he made her see, because she was really old and wrinkly or something, and is this former beauty, and he enables her to see that she actually still looks like that or something, or makes an illusion, and she gets all, okay, well, I'm sorry. What do you want? And he says, I need to know where the wooden ship is going to be tomorrow. And she says, oh, it's going to be in the desert. Is that it? And he says, well, I got to go.
And she's like, here, take the sand.
Okay, yeah.
You can live.
He says, how am I going to get past this spider? Because it's going to kill me when I leave here. And she breaks the hourglass, gives him a handful of magic sand.
Yep.
And says, well, you can take this, I don't know, if you want. But if it runs out, then you die.
Yep.
All he has to do is just
a handful of sand.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
That will last him the rest of his life.
Yep.
He has to hold this sand for the rest of his life. And so you would think that when he leaves, the spider would chill. And it doesn't. It just starts
scurrying towards him.
Scurrying back towards him. And he holds up the hand of sand. And the spider says, oh, you got the sand. Okay.
Yeah. It was
so
like
he leaves.
I mean, nothing's ever decided. I assume that lady died, or she just.
Oh yeah, because did you guys see he escapes?
Rep.
Yep.
Yep.
He has a handful of sand. He's climbing on spider webs, and one hand is clenched full of sand.
Yep.
And he eventually escapes the webs in the cave. And then it cuts back to, I don't know, did you guys hear this? The spider goes towards the spider lady in that web orb thing. And then at some point, the spider says, "Daddy," and then just makes the orb blow up.
What? Nope.
Yeah, I have a timestamp on it. And
It says "Daddy."
maybe I'll.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
It says "Daddy," and then it blows up.
Wow.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Well, this. So after this, the old man dies, and this is where things start getting exciting.
Wait,
Well, he dies because he ran out of sand.
Right.
Well, because he let go of it when he got done.
It was running out of his hand. He had nothing. Didn't have a container.
yeah,
did
it
on
was
purpose.
also.
It's a fistful
I
of
would need to
sand.
go back and watch it, which I'm not going to. But
Why not?
I'm convinced that the sand when he died was in his left hand, but when he was climbing out of the spiderweb thing, and initially she gave it to him in his right hand, I think.
No, totally. It was
Which I mean, I
totally
guess
right,
like
yeah.
I don't know. Is it like if it
Maybe,
could he
maybe that's how he
transfer
lost
it?
half of it because he. I think he
Okay,
can.
well then,
But I think that's how he
that's-
lost half of his life because
it's just irresponsible.
he ran out.
It's irresponsible.
Oh man.
But anyways,
rough.
yeah. So
Well,
old man dies.
as he's dying, he's talking about where it's going to be, and then they begin discussing about, well, where is this place? And they're like, it's what? Did they say 1,000 leagues away?
Yeah.
1,000 leagues, which
Have to
is
get there.
3,000 miles.
Yeah.
And then
They have
the
to get there
Cyclops
by
goes.
tomorrow morning.
Oh yeah,
Cyclops goes.
that's right.
Fire mirror's gonna make it there on time.
Fire mirrors.
Fire mirrors. Yeah.
That's 125
So-
miles an hour if you did it for 24 hours. So those things are flying.
Yeah.
Well, they literally were at one point.
Which I definitely made a note of. I made a note in real time. It just I thought the penultimate scene in the entire movie. Well, gosh, this one is right like neck and neck with one other thing that was just a funny moment to me. But it was when they were trying to wrangle the horses and
Yeah.
there was a kid. The younger kid was on like a cliffside, like opposite of everybody else, and the horses were running through. He jumped off the cliff to jump onto one, and he just missed it.
Oh, it just gets yeeted off, right?
No,
Yeah.
he missed it. He like booped the thing and just like fell over, and then there was no like it just
my God.
was a straight up fail, but it
Yeah.
actually looked like it hurt.
Yeah.
And
Well, that whole scene looked like they were it was, even though it was a movie, it was like those were real horses and those guys were like
Yeah.
scared to.
Yeah.
they were
Get 'em.
those
Giant
That
Clydesdale
scene took
horses,
way too
right?
long for them to actually
Yep.
get a horse.
but also those actors were like bareback riding on horses,
Yeah.
which is
And
so
trying to mount
impressive.
and stuff.
Yeah.
But did you guys see? So this actually reminded me of one of the opening scenes of 10,000 BC when they were hoarding or funneling the mammoths into this
Oh yeah.
valley thing, and that's what they were doing to these horses to try and capture them. But they already were chasing the horses into this narrow valley
Yeah.
thing. There was nowhere else for them to go, and yet they were all hiding behind the rocks so that the horses wouldn't
Yeah.
see them, I guess. And then they immediately were just then visible.
Yeah, it was really funny. That whole
And-
wrangling process
Yeah.
had me laughing pretty hard because it was just kind of chaos, just like the opening scene, but even less logical in terms of how they got the horses. Which then was
Yeah.
like, once again, they ran like once they did wrangle the horses and they were cruising as like an epic brigade out in the open. They had so many scenes where they were like running through hillside or running down hillsides and like out in the plains, like the horses are running on the ground, and then they reach like I think it's like near nightfall, and then they're like blazing
Going up.
Like all of a sudden, what wasn't happening before was a flaming trail behind the horses, and now they're like lighting the pasture on fire behind them.
Yeah, they start a forest
And their
fire.
saddles
Right.
and their saddles are on fire as well. So I put in my notes, LOL, blazing saddles, literally.
Yeah.
But then they just in one instance, so clearly time, like plenty of time had passed, and they were not going 125 miles an hour to go 3,000 miles. They were just cruising at normal horse speed, but blazing this trail. They reach like a cliff's edge, and they all just continue to run, and then all of a sudden the horses are flying, and they have this like majestic like scene where they're like hovering through like the Grand Canyon style place, and I'm just like, okay, well, why didn't you just do this to start?
Just fly the whole time.
Fly the whole time.
You wouldn't have to go up and down all of these hills. You could just flown right over.
That part was really funny to me.
But they made it. They made it to the castle. They made it to the fortress.
They made it
before dawn.
They had to scale about 1,000-foot climb to get inside the wooden ship.
Yeah, with the white king blasters.
Well, they started the ascent, and it looked like they were really going to make progress. But then once again, they did exactly what they did with the horses, where they like started chasing the horses. But then all of a sudden they were just like, there was a pew pew from the guys shooting their blue lasers, the evil dudes, Slayers. And they're immediately just hunkered down hiding. And they look like they don't know that there's nowhere to go, nothing to do. And all of a sudden, once again, the hero of the story, the MVP, the most badass dude, comes in with his trident, and
he's on a flaming mare too.
That's right.
Yeah, he just walks up the mountain and starts absorbing laser blasts, and he just walks right through it,
and holds and he's holding he gets to the door. The door is almost closing, and he stands in the door and holds it wide open with what looks like ease, enough for whatever's left of this Calgary to like pass through. And then the door starts to close on him. And that scene was truly sad because I didn't want to say goodbye to the Cyclops, but it was just the camera angle of him getting like smashed in a door. Was so,
no blood or anything. It's just
no blood. You could just see less and less of him.
It was just elevator doors
like
closing.
Less and less of him until just about nothing. And the main bandit who, like, I guess to this point he maybe just grew fond of the Cyclops because the Cyclops had saved their asses so many times. He couldn't save the Cyclops. This was my other favorite part. This is my favorite part too. I rewinded it 3 times. After witnessing the Cyclops die, he doesn't say anything. He just pauses for a second and he goes, "Yay!" and then just rolls.
Yay! And does a barrel roll with his axe.
Yeah, little somersault. There's a horde of Slayers right next to him, right? They're going to shoot him, and he does, yay.
Yay.
That quick barrel roll saved him.
Yeah. 5 E's, all caps, yay. That's what it was. Yay.
Yeah.
And he just rolls. It just made no sense to me. It was so funny. I've watched that probably like 4 times. I've rewound it back.
There's about 6 Slayers, right?
Yeah.
And only one of them shoots at him. And he
they only have one shot, and then they have to switch to swords. So you gotta hold on to those. Mm-hmm. But after that, after that scene, it's kind of just them running through tunnels.
Yep,
a lot of this until
and all I heard was those jingle bells.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm Ditch.
And that kid's staff.
Yeah.
And
after this part, this is when Ergo finally like does something cool.
He becomes a tiger, right?
Because they're running through tunnels. The floor opens, so half of Ergo and the Titch kid fall in, and the rest of them are on top. And then it closes back up, and then Ergo becomes a tiger, and he just starts like kicking the crap out of all these Slayers. And it's like, well, why didn't you just do that from the beginning, you dummy?
Yep. He's saving the secret weapon.
Too focused on that stupid candy. He can't do anything else. And all of a sudden he's a tiger and he's just kicking the crap out of everything. It's like, well...
Yeah, I'm thinking of all of the things he could have been in any of these situations that would have been even remotely helpful. And he chose none.
A snake.
Yeah.
A lion.
At one point, the tiger gets shot in the foot.
Yeah.
And the tiger clearly gets shot in the foot, but the kid falls over as if he got shot. And then later you see the tiger with his shoulder all busted up.
Yeah.
From the shot, right?
Yep, there was definitely some incontinuity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so they kind of what's left of the group slowly gets picked off one by one, and for
just because they get stuck in these random rooms and tunnels and stuff.
So homie finally pulls out his space boomerang and
oh my gosh,
yes,
kind of casually tosses it towards this obvious room where the princess must be, and it is just slicing the door.
It's
like a saw just hovering in the air.
It turned into. Did you see? I'm sorry.
Was so funny.
That the hole that it cut.
But it was zigzags, right? Just random zigzags. It wasn't a circle. It wasn't
not a square
entrance. It was just
jagged,
random angles.
Well, they kept cutting back to that scene of it. Like other things would happen, but then it would like cut back, and it was like,
it took so
like sitting
long.
there spinning the same thing. But then you start to see the outline, and it's like
just sitting
Jesus,
there waiting.
It would have taken like 30 minutes for that thing to trace what was supposed to be a door, but just was so jagged and not. That part was
yeah.
You know what?
Totally. It just looked like some incompetent person with a saw.
I know. Okay,
this thing is the coolest weapon. It's the mythical thing that's supposed to be all powerful, and then it cuts this shit.
But it takes time. It takes time to cut it.
It takes so long.
What it looked like to me was in Mario Party 2 for Nintendo 64. There's like the drilling, like you're standing on top of a jack, and you have to trace around. Like you have to outline the figures' faces, and whoever does it like the best gets the most points and wins. It looks like that, just terribly, like done terribly wrong.
Oh my God.
Oh man! So
they make a door. The door leads to the big bad
princess, and
but there's two scenes going on at the same time. So they're drilling through that hole, and then there's three guys trapped in the spike room.
And they fall through a magic portal, and they end up in this spike room.
And it's one of those rooms where it's like it's closing, and then it looks like spikes are coming out. It's literally just the actors are just pulling the spikes into themselves.
Oh my gosh, that part was really
like there's one where that's like it's against his neck, and he's like
just like pulling it.
He's just like pulling it. It's just so funny.
Yeah, and those things moved when the beast, when the main, there was something like they kept stopping just shy of like killing the people that were in there. Right. But then it would cut to the other scene, and I don't know. I was just taking it all in. I was thinking little in that moment.
So he gets the princess out. He's like, I got my glaive, and the beast comes out, and he's pissed. And he starts firing photon balls at him. And so bro Colwyn gets his glaive and starts chucking it at him, which is just him throwing it. And then they rewind the tape and catching it.
Yeah.
Him throwing it.
Yeah.
Rewinding it.
But most of the time it's just hovering. It's just, and then he realizes he can control it.
He holds his hand When he throws it, and it's, well, I guess there were two parts to it. So he had to land the hit first, right? Like at one point he threw the thing, and he's like holding his hand out like he's controlling it, like vertical hand. And then it hits the beast. It sticks in the beast.
Sticks into him. Yeah.
And then he's trying to get it back. His facial,
reaching his arms out like,
if there's one single scene that I wish for anybody listening to this to watch, it would be to see his facial contortions when he's trying to control it, because he goes like this. He's like, and he goes like just like busts like a It was
it's like every face you can make.
Yeah, trying to control but he's trying to call it back to him, and ultimately he can't in that moment. But anyways,
the beast appears to be dead or something, right?
Yeah, he goes up to try and get it, and then the beast comes back. or is like alive.
Keep in mind, the beast is 1,000 feet tall or something.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge.
I mean, they're never close enough for you to even know how big the thing is. But then they have to run to a different room for the next battle.
Yeah.
Well,
with the princess. And this is where.
Yeah. Right. I thought they ran towards the beast to get the glaive back, right?
No,
did it just swallow it? The glaive disintegrated or something? Or no. In any case, the glaive is no longer useful to the prince for some reason.
Anyways,
it's inaccessible.
Yeah. They realize we need something else. We need something else to defeat the beast. And then the princess is like, well, I'll give you my flame.
Yep.
Yeah.
He says that the glaive isn't sufficient. Our love is.
Yep.
There it is.
So she summons her flame, their flame, doesn't matter, gives it to him. And then he holds out his arm, the prince, and it's just a flamethrower that shoots out of his fingertips. It shoots 300 yards.
It turned into the Harry Potter Voldemort battle at the end of the Howells Part 2.
Except it's just coming out of his hand.
Right?
And then
as you'd expect, the beast got killed.
For sure.
Torched.
And this is where they start evacuating. Everybody wrangles up, gets them, start running out. There's a waterfall
around them.
There's a waterfall in this place.
Well, first they had to find the kid and the tiger.
Right.
And you know how they found him?
Tell me.
The kid was jingling his jingle bells.
I thought it was the blood.
He was just like
they
his jingle bells.
They were following blood, but he never stopped jingling those bells. So Yep.
So then they're basically trapped because the door that they came in was sealed shut on the Cyclops. So then homie pulls out his flamethrower again and
he does
blasts open this hole, which is 5,000 feet in the air.
Right.
Yep.
And they have to scale down the mountain.
Yeah, and they plot down, and this is just like the beginning. This is where like they're standing in a field, and they're just staring and watching it like slowly, piece by piece, get sucked back up into space, and then it's finally gone
for 5 full minutes.
Yeah.
It took a long time.
At least they bookended it. So
and the moral of the story, really, as it turns out, was that the beast was this galaxy-spanning nemesis, going from planet to planet. And there was this, I guess, prophecy that there would be a queen and there would be a prince, and their kid would then, on this random planet, and then, so they saved their planet, and then their kid was going to go on to be Emperor of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
But they don't have spaceships, right? They have swords and stuff, and the beast was the only spacefaring thing, but they were going to then rule the galaxy.
Yeah. So here's why this movie was made. Columbia Pictures, the head of Columbia Pictures, wanted his own Star Wars.
All right, that makes sense.
And he wanted his sci-fi adventure movie. And he had some people put it together, and it went way over budget. So the budget back in 1983 was $47 million. In today's money, it's $134 million.
Wow.
Only made $16.9 million in the box office, which is $48 million today. And the reason it failed so much is when it came out, it was July 1983. These were the movies also in theaters: National Lampoon Vacation, Jaws 3D, Star Wars Return of the Jedi, and Octopussy. What movie would you go see? Your choice.
You know what this scenario would be for us back then? Hubble saying, "Oh, let's go see Krull. Let's go see Krull in the movie theaters. It'll be amazing."
Yeah.
The director, Peter Yates, he directed Bullet with Steve McQueen. He hated the film so much he took a 3-week vacation to the Caribbean's in the middle of it. So they just had to stop production for 3 weeks because it was so bad.
Oh, that's the tidbit I needed. He hated it so much. Oh my God. Just to know that you are conducting a train wreck in real time and you just have to see it to completion.
So also here's a few other. So the original was supposed to be called Dragons of Krull. The beast was supposed to be a dragon.
Okay.
All right.
And they decided to make it more amphibious.
Yeah.
For whatever
reason. It was like
reason.
a giant creature of the Black Lagoon from the Black Lagoon.
Oh man.
Wow.
There was so much in this movie.
Yeah. It was something. That's for sure. So then are we at the point where the rating happens?
Yep.
It's Ascension to 10 time, baby.
Yep.
Well,
all right, boys. Hit me with it.
What was After Earth?
Pulling it up right now.
I think for me, Ascension to 10, I would like to give this one.
Okay, hold up.
Okay.
Let me give a rundown.
Right.
Actually, this will be your first.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm like, I gotta.
Yeah.
You guys coming in.
Okay. Yeah, you got to hear what the rest of them are. Tremor 6. I gave it an Ascension. Spenny a 0.9. John Carter, I gave it a 4. Spenny a 3.5. 10,000 BC, I gave that a 1. Spenny 2.5. After Earth, 3 and 1.69. The Time Machine, that was a bummer. A 0.9 and a 1.1. So, movie 6, Krull. What you got, Bri?
I think for my first official rating, I'm gonna have to give this one a 2.
Solid.
Okay.
It was
Breaking out the 2.
it barely held my attention. There were so many plot holes and funny things that were happening, but
what would you have given it without the Cyclops?
Oh man, that would lower it a whole point for sure. Cyclops carries a whole point on the Ascension scale. From the moment you see him to the moment he sacrifices himself in that door. And just gets closed into oblivion. There's no blood. It's just gone. He's just smashed.
He doesn't even say anything.
No,
either.
he just gets
He just
shut.
accepts his fate, right?
And
Well, the thing, his face, he always has a smile on his face.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. See, and
Well, it's because they made that one face, right? That one prosthetic face.
yeah. So
They're gonna make another
I think a 2 is a good first score for me to give to a movie, and I think it did what it needed to do. I saw the holes in it and the things that were funny to me, but there was also, I mean, like you said, the music. I thought the music was really cool. The visual effects for the time, just like from the audio and
Definitely.
and all audio video was even though the audio and the syncing up at the beginning wasn't great. Just like for the time period that was, I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So keep in mind now, that's your benchmark.
I know.
For all future episodes. So everything else is either
Pressure's on.
better or
Yeah.
worse than a
Yeah.
2.
Probably should have thought
Nice
about it a
thing.
little more.
Well, I mean, I started with an Ascension.
That's
so.
true.
Yeah, we almost had to change the name of the show. Chad, what do you give this movie?
I actually gave it a 2 as well.
Wow.
Fist bump.
Nice.
Yep.
Like that.
Spenny.
It's funny because I gave it a 2.
Oh, yeah, let's go.
I feel really good
For
about the score.
A lot
I
of
gave.
things.
Dang.
A lot of things you said. So visually, I thought for the time period it was cool. I really did like the music. I had a lot of nostalgia of this, so I really wanted to love it. But the plot is just so stupid. Like it literally is. It's literally a like. Let's take Lord of the Rings, but we're gonna add a couple more bad boys, and let's just make it as easy as possible.
Yeah.
Like that was the journey,
Yeah.
and that was it. Because like
Let's go
I
to a
totally
useless
forgot
swamp.
the fire mares. Did not remember that at all. So when that scene came on, it just blew me away.
Yeah.
Like that was so surreal.
Yeah.
And then the spider. I remember the spider, but that scene was so dark and weird. So
Yeah. Yeah. I think I mean, if we all voted 2 independent of each other, I think that's
Not only was that the first time there was even more than one of us, at least two giving the same rating, but that was the first
Consensus.
real number rating by Spenny.
Oh, that's true.
He's always
Yeah.
given decimal ratings.
All right. Well,
Who's got the next one?
Well, I do have one, but I'm totally willing to step aside and let Bryan suggest one.
well, I think in the near future I have an idea, but I want to hear what you got planned.
All right, we're going to take a trip to 2000 and watch Battlefield Earth.
Oh yeah, I can't
Battlefield
wait.
Earth.
John Travolta.
I've never seen it.
I haven't either.
Neither have I.
Oh, sick.
It got a 3% on the Rotten Tomato meter,
Got to check it out.
Okay.
and I think that it will fit the bill.
I think this was probably John Travolta's After Earth. He probably didn't act for a while after this one.
Well, actually, I think he got into Scientology pretty hard during that time too. So
well.
I think he was stepped aside for other reasons.
yeah, that's
For other reasons.
that's
He had some other stuff going on.
all right.
Well,
Well, before we get off, please make sure you rate, review, subscribe, give us good ratings.
That's right.
Give us 5 stars on Spotify and Apple and wherever else you get your podcasts. Check us out.
Write to us.
Write to
if
us.
you want to.
yeah, if you have any
Boys.
movie ideas or any questions,
Yeah, or typical
inquiries,
days.
or yes, typical days. Well,
Boys at ascension10.com.
that's right.
And
Do any of us have typical days before we head off? I don't.
I don't have one this week.
I mean, I was going to tell you guys one from a couple of weeks ago, but I've already pretty much put it out of my memory, so I don't know if I could recount it.
Okay.
To the fullest.
Well, let that.
Yeah, I'm
percolate.
gonna
See if you can remember.
rekindle that memory because it was funny. But
Something about Costco.
oh
right?
yeah, it was a whole experience. But for another time.
Well, no typical days this week. But yeah, thanks for listening. If you made it this far.
Heck yeah. Got more
right.
coming your way.
See you next week.
That's right.
Later.
Bye.